Hey GQ, I'm Nathan Chen, and this is The Breakdown. Blades of Glory.
Yes, I did. See that?
Blades of Glory, a classic. One of the best skating movies out there. Honestly, they got a lot of things pretty solid in this, you know, in terms of choreography, the time that we spend in doing choreography. And skating is split 50-50 basically with technique and artistry. We have something called the technical element score and then the program component score. And the program component score is basically encompasses a lot of the artistry and more of the performing aspects of the program. So it makes a lot of sense that we would spend a lot of time off the ice and on the ice working on choreography like that butterfly sequence. There's a lot of time that we spend working on little fine-tuning the program, making sure that we're matching the character, matching the vibes of the program, and, you know, just being able to be super comfortable with the music and being able to relate to the music as best as we can. Yeah, I've never actually seen like a warehouse rink, so that's a new one for me. Fortunately in the US, there are like rinks everywhere. So wherever I want to find a rink, I basically can find a rink. I used to skate in a rink over in California called Lake Arrowhead, and it was sort of like a warehouse, which I think now it is a warehouse, but that was a really cool rink. No boards, it's just like a pure sheet of ice, so that was really interesting to skate on. Most of the time, like I'm skating at rinks that are traditional, like rinks that I'm sure you can Google and find a rink close by, and basically that's what my rink will look like. And I have skated outdoors a couple times, which is super cool. That's a 10 out of 10 experience. So I grew up doing ballet. I started ballet when I was really young, maybe 5 or so, 5, 6, and mostly just did it because my sisters were super into ballet and they were like, hey Nathan, come with us and do it with us. And I ended up enjoying it as well, and it was cool. There were a lot of other boys that did the class with me, so I felt like I fit in, and it was a lot of fun. And I think that growing up and just sort of just like understanding movement, whether or not it perfectly relates to what I do on the ice now, at least it's something that I feel more comfortable doing, you know, just basic movement, knowing where basically I should put my hands and where I should put my feet and all of that and where to look. All of these things are definitely things that I learned in ballet, and not just ballet too, all sorts of styles of dance, you know, whether it's jazz, hip hop, contemporary, all of these different styles of movement, you know, can definitely play a role in skating, considering that a big portion of our score is that aspect of skating. Fairly accurate to an extent, obviously, you know, sort of dramatized, a little bit more drama than normally would see in competitions. And now currently, you know, typically men don't really skate with men for pairs, but if something like that happens in the future, you know, it'd be pretty cool to see. If I could choose one partner, I'd choose Jimmy McElroy, given that my style of skating is like jump based, his style of skating is like beautiful, so I'm gonna let him take over that side of my score. I, Tanya. Actually, the double that was in I, Tanya was one of the girls that skated at my rink when I was growing up in California. So it's kind of funny, like seeing her do the elements. I'm like, oh, like I recognize her doing this element. But at the same time, you know, actually like they did a really good job replicating and sort of recreating the original performance of Tanya. And yeah, I mean, if you asked me to replicate Tanya's programs, like I would have a hard time doing that. So the doubles did a really great job. In Margot's case, like, man, props to her for being able to learn the choreography, learn how to adapt it on the ice. Moving off the ice just feels extraordinarily different than moving on the ice. Sort of like learning how to adjust your body while doing the positions is like, you know, pretty big feat. So for her to be able to just like pick it up and do that, and for me, I like can't really tell. Obviously there's like camera angles going on there too, but yeah, genuinely she did a really good job.
That's nicely done.
And now we will find out whether she will be the first American to attempt and complete a triple axel jump. We will know that here, whether she tries it or not.
Yeah, Tanya was a pretty incredible skater herself. Triple axel, that was like a huge element. Even for me, I struggle on that element. So for her to be able to do it that long ago, it's pretty impressive. So we have a bunch of different elements, or jumping elements in our programs. One is called axel, one is called sow cow, toe loop, loop, flip, and lutz. All of them take off backwards except for axel. Axel is the only one where you're charging forward into the element. So inherently it's a little bit more scary. I mean, perhaps going backwards is a little more scary, but in my opinion, going forward is more scary because you can like see where you're going, and you have to be really precise on how you like press into the ice, how you cut into the ice, how you stop your blade, so that you can basically vault yourself in the air. Whereas everything going backwards, you kind of just like either slam a foot into the ice or you like carve the edge out. Stepping forward is like a lot more tricky. So for her to be able to do triple axel in a time where people were doing triples, of course, but a triple axel was still like, you know, really next level. Of course, there were some that did it before her, like Midori Ito and whatnot, but it's a really, really challenging jump. So for anyone to do it, it's, you know, they have my props. The cutting edge. Those are two separate tricks that they put together into one. I'm not a pair skater, so I'm not extraordinarily versed in a lot of the pairs moves, but I've skated with a lot of pair skaters. So the first thing they did was like more of like an exhibition show sort of trick. And then he like threw her up, which is something that like never happens. And then they like cut into something called a twist, where they'll like skate with a lot more speed going backwards and huck the girl up, and she'll do a twist and he'll catch her and put her back down. And yeah, that's something that like what they just did was like they just cut two tricks together that would never ever exist. But yeah, that was entertaining to say the least. Ice castles. I mean, the program was good. I don't know, she must have done something really good because typically speaking, people don't really stand up in the middle of the program. So that's pretty new, good for her. If you do have impaired vision, I definitely think there's the capability to do all these things. And I think a lot of it comes down to feel when you're on the ice, when you're doing these elements, a lot of it is feel. And especially in the context of a competition when you're the only one on the ice, you don't have to worry so much. I think the most dangerous thing is just being able to like make sure that you're not running into other people and knowing where the boards are. That's difficult. But the actual movement and the jumps and the spins, I think are all things definitely more difficult than being able to have non-impaired vision. But you know, I think it's something totally doable. I actually do recall seeing in Ice Castles the scene where she falls. I was with, like, it was playing at our rink and I was like with my friend. And the fall, they could have done a much better job with that. She like steps on a cable, I believe, or like jumps into a cable and falls. And that is, even if there was a cable on the ice, like I would skate over it. Maybe I would like stumble a little bit, but I don't think anyone would really fall that hard. The cutting edge too.
Do a split twist.
What?
Trust me.
But now
Oh man, I don't even know where to start on this one. I mean, okay, so first of all, the trick that they did was something that's extraordinarily unbelievable. There's no way this will ever happen in real life. Again, they were doing a twist variation where he does like a triple toe underneath. Never gonna happen. Like, that was just completely unrealistic. Not until recently were we allowed to have lyrics in our program, so this again, perhaps not the most realistic thing. In single skating, you have a little bit more of like leeway to be like, hey, like, oh, something went wrong early in the program, let's do a modification later in the program. But with pairs, it's generally like, you don't have time, you know, these people, like, they have to just do it on cue, and there's a lot going on, you know, music is loud, and of course you can talk to your partner. And again, this is from a skater that doesn't have experience actually skating with a partner, but like from having friends that I know have that experience, like they can talk, they can sort of like organized slightly in the program, but to sort of improv like that is like pretty remarkable, and that's something that I don't think you would normally see. Ice Princess. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career in competition, out of competition. We have two competitions. We have the short program and the long program, or the free program. And if short program doesn't go great, you still have the opportunity to bring up those points in the free program. So again, keeping your mind in check, making sure that you're, you know, focusing on the things that you have to do forward and not looking back, because at that point, you know, it's already over, so you gotta move forward and try to learn from that. Definitely when in competition, being in the right mental state, being focused, being geared in is like, more than, I would say, 80% of it. You know, we already spent all this time in training. We spend like every single day prepping our competitions, prepping our, and that's the thing with skating, right? When we're competing, we're doing the exact same thing that we trained. So it's not like we're doing a brand new program every time or a brand new routine every time we go on to competition. So there's all stuff that you prepare. So, you know, all that work that you put into practice should basically reflect in competition, as long as you're, you know, in the right headspace, as long as you're, you know, focused and doing the right things mentally. I do love in all these skating movies when they like make them do like triples or other jumps. They'll like do the first part and immediately cut and then have like them rotating down, so it like doesn't allow for how many rotations they did in the air. Because given now, like a lot of the skaters, men and women, are doing like quads, so you'll be able to see like just very clearly how many rotations they're doing. But this, it's like, oh, was that a double, a triple, a single? Like, kind of hard to tell. But yeah, I mean, the skating was nice. It was entertaining. I also don't know when this was, but we weren't allowed lyrics until like quite recently. I don't remember exactly what year, but maybe post 2014 or something along those lines. Spinning out. In terms of tricks, in terms of like what they did, this is the most realistic, I think, out of all of them. You know, the jump was like from the start to the end. You could see the whole jump So like clearly they were doing side-by-side triple toes, did a throw triple loop. So whoever the doubles were, whoever it was that did this program actually did a pretty good job, pretty good skaters. Aesthetic choice, tights over boots is a little not common these days. I think more so you'd see tights under boots, but that's like a minute detail. Single skating and pair skating, you'll see a little bit of difference in terms of like the single elements that we do. So commonly in single skating, you'll be able to see jumps with more rotations. So, you know, oftentimes in the men and the women, you'll see like quad toes, quad sows, quad lutzes. Whereas with pairs, more often you'll only see triple jumps, but they'll do like lifts, they'll do twists, they'll do a bunch more like acrobatic stuff, which of course leads to more difficulty in certain regards, while quads lead more difficulty in other regards. And also like something that is very distinctive about pairs is more often than not, you'll see guys that are a little bit bigger in stature, so they're more top built, whereas I think single skaters are a little bit more bottom built, since we just try to be as light as we can to get, you know, as aerodynamic and as much power as we can off the ice to get rotations in. Whereas these guys have to be really strong in their upper bodies to be able to, you know, do lifts and whatnot. I prefer single skating because I really like the elements. I like doing jumps. I like doing all that stuff. That's like super fun for me. I'm also tiny, like I'm not a big guy, so it'd be probably really difficult for me to be able to lift and all the pairs sort of maneuvers. Props to all these athletes. I mean, we work really hard. You know, every athlete works really hard to do what they do, so it's really cool to be a part of this figure skating community. Flash dance. Falls happen in skating, you know, that's okay. We all make mistakes. Typically in skating, when you make a mistake, you just get back up and keep going, especially in competition. So that's something that has been ingrained in me, at least, from my parents and my coaches, to be like, hey, you make a mistake, get up, keep going. So unless she was hurt, I have no idea. I don't know what happens for the rest of the program, but yeah, she should keep going. Also, this was, I don't know when this movie was, but typically in competitions, you won't see spotlights. There was a period of time when they would compete with spotlights, but that's something that we don't really do anymore. We'll do spotlights for exhibitions, so for shows, for things that are more like, you know, fun entertainment style programs, we'll do that. But things that were like competing and getting a score, we won't use spotlights. It was a little staged. I mean, she just did 2 doubles and both of them were kind of just like she sat down. Technically, yeah, there's some things she could have done, like putting her body in a certain position, you know, pressing her circle out a little bit more so she could get a little bit more torque off the top, but highly technical things and things that you don't really need that high level of technique for a double, so I think it was a little bit more staged than anything. Thanks so much for watching these clips with me. Stay tuned for part 2.